Welcome back to Meek and Humble Hearts, a place for imperfect people. You are tuned into episode 5, which is titled, Give Me Your Isaac. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Again, this is Meek and Humble Hearts, a place for imperfect people. I'll give the perfect people a chance to click off. I'll start with my disclaimer. Some have been called to preach. I ain't heard nothing. I am simply a person that's tired of getting it wrong, that wants to get it right. And I'm simply just sharing my journey and how God has made these deposits into my mind, into my heart to share. And so we are going to go ahead and hop into episode 5. Again, it is titled, Give Me Your Isaac. So if you've read the Bible at all. Some people, when they start reading the Bible, they start in Genesis and they go through Revelation. Some people start in the Gospels. Nonetheless, if you have read the Bible or been reading the Bible, it is, highly likely that you have read the story of Abraham and Sarah in the book of Genesis. Now, Abraham and Sarah have several things, several stories in the Bible. This particular one involves their son, Isaac. This particular story is one of my favorite because it really outlines how God will test you and how obedience is truly what he's after. So if you don't know this story, if you're in Genesis, start with chapter 16 and then it expands through Genesis 22. But I'll give you like the short form of it. So Abraham and Sarah, obviously, they are a couple. And so Sarah is unable to conceive. She is not able to bear children. Well, God tells her that she's going to have a child, and she basically laughs because of her age. She is far beyond childbearing age. But God does tell them that they're going to have a son. And so when Sarah is 90 and Abraham is 100, God blesses them with their son, Isaac. Now, it would be an amazing story if we, just saw them being faithful and just believing God, but that's not what happened. Sarah became very impatient and she told Abraham to go sleep with a servant, one of her servants, Hagar. So that she could have a son. And so, Abraham does. And so Hagar becomes pregnant and she gives birth to Abraham's son, Ishmael. So this happens when Abraham is around 86. So remind you how long Sarah has to live with the fact that she wasn't obedient, she wasn't patient, and now your husband has a son, but she still doesn't feel, great about it because it's not her son. It's not her son. And she realizes that, they were operating outside of the will of God. And Hagar kind of looks at her like, whatever, she's a servant, but she's kind of looking at Sarah like, you know what I mean? And Hagar is miserable. Sarah treats her like crap. If we're just being honest, I'm just going to tell you like it is and go read for yourself. But she does. She treats her poorly and she's, Hagar is over it. And she's about to go literally run away when, an angel from God comes to her and, just basically tells her about her son, tells her, about Ishmael. And so as time goes on, as you know, Sarah is 90, Abraham is 100 years old. So God keeps his promises because, again, God is not a liar. God is not a liar. And we all know that God will not take away our gifts. However, he will lift an anointing. If you do not properly steward your gifts, he never takes them away, but he will lift an anointing. And we've already talked about like one of the worst feelings in the world is to have a gift from God that you can do absolutely nothing with. I'm going to just let that sit right there. So we know that Sarah's patience were very thin. We know what she asked Abraham to do. We know that that was outside of the will of God. So we have Ishmael. Everybody's miserable. Nobody's happy. So God does bless them with their son, Isaac. Sarah is able to give birth to Isaac. He is everything to her. She loves Isaac, but I guess you know what else? She was tired of looking at her iniquity when it came to Ishmael. And so she told Abraham, they got to go. They got to go. that whatever that is, your son is not going to be attached to the lineage of my son. I have my Isaac at this point. So yeah, they gotta go. So Abraham tells them to leave. He tells, Hagar and Ishmael to go. Well, although God still blessed them, right? He did. There was a day. There came a day, and I'm going to read this directly because I don't want, anything to be misconstrued at all. So I kind of gave you the backstory, but this particular piece, which is the topic that we are going to talk about today, it talks about the sacrifice of Isaac. So in Genesis 22, it states, sometime later, God tested Abraham. He called out to him, Abraham, here I am, he answered. God said, please take your son, your unique son, whom you love, Isaac. So he was very clear. Take your unique son, that son that I gave you, that miracle that I gave you, and you were 100 years old, that miracle child, the one that you love, because you really ain't feeling Ishmael, right? The one that you love, Isaac. Let me go ahead and tell you the name because I don't want you to be confused when I tell you what to do next. So when I tell you when God commands us, he's very clear. So take your unique son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the land of Moriah. Offer him as a burnt offering there on one of the mountains that I will point out to you. So again, Abraham, first off, one thing I love about God and one thing about Abraham that he does have a level of obedience. I know that there was a time where, he didn't always, do certain things, but the one thing about it, when God told him to go, he just going. He don't know where he going. He just said, just go, take your son, get ready to offer him as a sacrifice, and I will point out the mountain to you. Just go. So Abraham got up early in the morning, saddled his donkey, and took 2 of his male servants with him, along with his son Isaac. He cut the wood for the burnt offering and set out to go to the place about which God had spoken to him. On the 3rd day, he looked ahead and saw the place from a distance. Abraham ordered his 2 servants, both of you are to stay here with the donkey. Now, as for the youth and me, we'll go up there. We'll worship and then we'll return to you. Now, Abraham knew exactly what God told him to do. However, he was not getting ready to tell the servants that. But it also shows that Abraham was like, okay, I'm trusting you, God. But in the back of his mind, he's like, I know you're not really getting ready to make me sacrifice my son. So I'm not even getting ready to tell them that. So he just says, we'll return to you. Then Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac. So he done made Isaac care. Isaac just like, wait a minute. So let me just tell you how Isaac is working. Then Abraham took the wood from the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac. Abraham carried the fire and the knife. And so the 2 of them went on together. Now Isaac like, hold on. Isaac addressed his father. My father, I'm here, my son, Abraham replied. Isaac asked, the fire and the wood are here, but where's the lamb for the burnt offering? Isaac like, hold on. We got all the things, but where's the lamb? Abraham answered, God will provide. God will provide himself the lamb for the burnt offering, my son. So Abraham is faithful. He's like, I know I serve a God that's not getting ready to make me truly sacrifice my son. But if I have to, I'm willing. I'm complicit. I am going to do what he told me to do. The 2 of them went on together and came to the place about which God had spoken. Abraham built an altar there, arranged the wood, tied up his son Isaac, and placed him on the altar on top of the wood. Then he stretched out his hand and grabbed the knife to slaughter his son. It's a pearl clincher right there, right? It's just one of those things where it's like, that's heavy. Like your son. So at once, an angel of the Lord called out to him from heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham, here I am. I love how Abraham answers, here I am. Like you call out to me, here I am. Don't lay a hand on the youth, he said. Don't do anything to him because I've just demonstrated that you fear God. Since you have not withheld your son, your only unique one from me. And I love how he keeps calling that out, your only unique one. Then Abraham looked up and behind him Abraham looked up and behind him to see a ram caught by its horns in the thicket. So Abraham went over, grabbed the ram, and offered it as a burnt offering in place of his son. Abraham named that place, "The Lord will provide." And it is told this day, on the Lord's mountain, he will provide. The angel of the Lord called to Abraham a second time from heaven and said, "I have taken an oath to swear by myself, declares the Lord, that since you have carried this out and have not withheld your only unique son, I will certainly bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in heaven and as the sand on the seashore. Your descendants will take possession of the gates of their enemies. Furthermore, through your descendants, all the nations of the earth will be blessed because you have obeyed my command." After this happens, Abraham returned to his servants and they set out together for Beersheba, where Abraham settled. Now, that's a lot. This story always has me like on the edge of my seat because it's a lot. Like if you're a mom, if you're a dad, if you're a parent and you think about your son and God saying, "Give him here." That's a lot. So my question to you, what will you do if God asks for your Isaac? Have you identified your Isaac? It may not be a child. What or who is your Isaac? What or who is that thing or that person that you don't want to give up, that you want to hang on to? Are you willing to sacrifice it for the will of God? Are you? We must be careful with our Isaac because our Isaac can become an idol. We don't realize that sometimes when we're holding on to something or it's like, I don't want to give it up. But why? Because if God comes for it, you better be willing to give it up. So in this particular case, Abraham did not have to sacrifice Isaac, but he was willing to. You know what? People, this is life of a mom. I'm not even going to try to sugarcoat it. I'm real around here. It's the phone that's going to keep going off. But Abraham didn't have to sacrifice Isaac when it was all said and done, but God was testing his obedience. Like, will you do it though? If I come to you and say, "Give me your Isaac," will you do it? Will you sacrifice your unique son, Isaac, the one that you love? Right? Because God didn't ask him for Ishmael. Because, baby, let me tell you something. If God would have said, "Bring your son Ishmael and offer as a burnt offering," Abraham wouldn't have waited till the next morning. Ishmael would have been on up there that night. Because first off, he ain't got to hear Sarah's mouth no more. Because she already mad, right? Hagar, he's like, "You a servant, child." You know what I'm saying? If it was Ishmael would have been up there that night. But he said, "Isaac, your unique son, the one that you love." But Abraham was obedient. And so we have often heard that phrase that God cares more about our obedience than our sacrifice. He does. Obedience, friends, it is so important. And it's hard. To obeying God is so hard. It shouldn't be, but it is. Because we're trying to do it in a world that causes us or wants us to do everything else but. You know what I mean? And so I wanted to talk about this because I remember when God was like, "Maya, give me your Isaac." And I'm like, I don't want to give up my Isaac. I like my Isaac. For real? You want to take that from me, God? For real? And so it was hard for me. It was hard. And it was one of those things where I didn't want to. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I didn't want to. Because that's also what God was doing what he was revealing about me is that I need to learn when to let something go. And he was teaching me the power in letting go. He was also teaching me the power in what to me I'm going to process it as failure because it's going to be as if I couldn't do it. Right. Because again, I've already shared with y'all, I have that I don't want to see things fail type of thing, or that I can fix it type of complex. And it's one of those things that God had to break that. God had to break that habit in me. And so he was like, "Give me your Isaac. Give me your Isaac." And it wasn't, and I know the story, right? So did Abraham have to sacrifice Isaac? No. But he was willing. And here I am. I know this story. And I know how this ends. But yet still, I'm still struggling to hand over my Isaac to God. And he's like, oh, okay, so what you doing? Is this more, your Isaac is more important than my will? Is that what you're telling me? Because you really, I'm like, here you go. Like, for real, God? Like, I'm struggling. And so then God began to create situations where it's like, you gonna hand your Isaac over come hell or high water. That's my granny's phrase though. So like you gonna hand Isaac on over to me. And so God began to create situations where it became more and more, I would just probably say like impalatable. Like I no longer had the palate for that thing I didn't want to give up, because there was something that God needed to do within me, and it was something that God needed to do within my Isaac, and it was not going to happen as long as I was holding on to my Isaac, because God needed to do that thing, and it needed to happen without me in it. Because again, y'all know that little spirit I've been having on me. Well, I don't rebuke in the name of Jesus, but I used to have that spirit of, I can fix it. I used to have that spirit of, God, I'm here to help you fight my battles. I used to have that spirit of, I'm gonna see for myself. I can do this myself. Like, God used to be like, honey, listen, I'm your daddy, but no one understand. I ain't gave you all of my power. Like, you might want to quit. Do you realize who you talking to? You know what I'm saying? And so what I had to realize was that I needed to deal with some things within myself that I was using my Isaac to fix. And so I had to heal some wounds within myself that I was allowing my Isaac to be like a salve. My grandma used to call it salve. Is it salve, whatever, like a cream and ointment. So that's what I was doing. Like, and so God was like, hand it over. Give me your Isaac so that I can do the work within you. And I can also do what I need to do with your Isaac. And I'm not saying that I'm not going to give your Isaac back to you. But are you willing to be obedient and hand your Isaac over to me? And so I had to do that. And it's hard. It was difficult because I felt a lot of emotions, such as I felt like I failed. I felt like I didn't complete an assignment. I felt like I wasn't capable. And those are all of those things that God needed to change in me. And as long as I was holding on to my Isaac, God couldn't work on those things for me. And so the moment that I just surrendered and just like, here, then God began to just heal all those parts of me. He began to it all began to make sense. And so I share that with you because I want you to take inventory and identify who or what is your Isaac? And if God said, hand it over, what will your response be? Really think about that, because 9 times out of 10, when God is trying to create something, create a new thing within you, he's going to test your obedience, because why would he just keep giving you more if you are not going to properly steward what you have? And why would he keep giving you more if you're not willing to sacrifice what you have in order to receive something greater? Now, sometimes we have some Isaacs that we need to surrender to God, and God probably gonna go on and be like, yeah, this is sacrifice, because this ain't even for you. We just gonna call that a subtraction prior to the multiplication. Like, God is not getting ready to multiply confusion. He's not getting ready. If something can't go, it can't go. So he will subtract before he multiplies. So I want you to really think about your Isaac and think about the significance. Like, does your Isaac really play an intricate part in your life? First off, think about who sent your Isaac. Yeah, let's go there. Just because it's your Isaac don't mean God blessed you with it. Is all I'm saying. It might be your Ishmael and you calling it your Isaac. It might be something that you did on your own outside of the will of God, but we gonna call it Isaac because we like it. Like, for real. Let's talk about that. Is it really an Isaac or is it an Ishmael? Let's just take inventory that way. Because you really need to think about who engineered your Isaac. Did God really give you that Isaac? Or was that something that the enemy sent? And you liked it, so you let it sit around. And you made it your Isaac. That'll preach right there. But again, I shared this with you because I want you to truly think about it. Because we are all probably at a point in our lives where we feel like, I'm ready for more. If you tune in and watch this every week, you're probably someone who is either in the midst of a storm or someone who has come out of a storm. And you're like, you're either getting encouragement to keep enduring, or you're probably like, I went crazy because other people be going through stuff too. You know what I mean? So that's why I said the perfect people, y'all gonna click off. I'm not talking to y'all. I'm talking to the imperfect over here. And so if you have found yourself, if you are a unicorn that has never faced anything, that hasn't found yourself in any of these situations, glory be to God. Like, I am happy for you. But I shared this because I think it's just important for us to begin to truly take inventory. It's better you figure it out than for God to have to come to you and make you figure it out. Because no one understands his will be done. Like, his will is going to be done. So it is best that you figure it out, because what you don't want to do is have to go through the trial and error. And trust me, y'all, my allergies I'm sorry. What you don't want to do is go through the trial and error of disobedience, and you have to go through that discipline, because God will discipline us. Yes, he will. And so when you go through that trial and error of disobedience, then it's like you are constantly going this on, like you're on a seesaw. And God ain't got time for that. He don't got time for that. Like, God really has a plan. He says it in his word. He's not a liar. He has a plan to prosper you. It's us. We delay our blessings when we decide that we want to go play in Egypt when he's trying to take us to Canaan. And then every time we go to Egypt, y'all already know what happened in Egypt. We get that little Lot spirit on us, and here we go. We want to go over to Egypt, and here we go playing. And then, he got to come get us. But it's not like he can just come get us and we just get right back on track. Because 9 times out of 10, if you've been playing in Egypt, you remember when you were younger, your parents would be like, no, you can't go outside because you're going to get dirty. We got somewhere to go at 4 o'clock. So you couldn't go outside. You had to just chill for a moment. Well, when you go over to Egypt, you already know you done got your clothes dirty. The shirt stretched out. Shoes dirty. Shoe might be missing. Hair done got messed up. You know what I'm saying? You already know what happens in Egypt. A lot. You know what I mean? And so when you playing around in Egypt with that Lot spirit, it's going to cost you a lot. You know what I mean? So it's like that happens when we are disobedient. And so it's just important that we hear God and that we are truly listening. And your discernment is everything, because you got to understand the devil shows up like he belongs to. So always know who sent it. Be able to identify if it's from God or if it's from the enemy. And properly place it in or out of your life. If you know that this is something that God has for you, it's not going to come in chaos. It's not going to come with confusion. It's not going to be rooted in pain. Like, it's not. Will God test you? Absolutely. Are you willing to hand over your Isaac? That is truly the question that I want you to ask. First off, identify it. Is it Isaac or Ishmael? Who sent it? And are you willing to sacrifice it for the will of God? Are you willing to sacrifice it for the will of God? Because if you are saying that your Isaac is more important than God's will, you have made your Isaac an idol. And we all know how God feels about an idol. So let that sink in. So it's just important for us to really think about that and make sure that we might have something that we want to hold on to. And that's okay. But just know and understand that it's never going to be more important than God's will. And God may just take it for a minute so that he can create something in you or them, if it's a person, or it if it's a thing, whatever it is. God may need to take it for a minute to create a work, to do his work. Because again, we are here for his purpose. We're here for his will. So his will be done. I'm not saying that he's not going to bless you in the process, but if he has to take your Isaac in order to fix you, in order to heal you, in order to fix your Isaac or heal your Isaac or whatever that is, then so be it. I would much rather God come get my Isaac and sanctify my Isaac, set it apart, right? Sanctify me, set me apart so that I am whole, than for me to be trying to hold on to my Isaac and like here I am with a needle and thread trying to patch up and stitch up. No. I would much rather hand it over to the one person that I know will take care of it, properly steward it, all of those things. Keep it safe. I don't think God wants you to have to sacrifice your Isaac, but there are times where he may come for it. Now, again, if it's an Ishmael child, it might have to go, because that wasn't sent by God. That was you doing your thing, and you want to name it Isaac, but that's not what it is. But I do thank you guys for tuning in. This concludes episode 5 of Meek and Humble Hearts, a place for imperfect people. So I want you to go identify your Isaac and ask yourself, if God comes for it, are you willing to hand it over? I will see you guys here in our next episode. Our next episode, y'all, is a good one. As you know, we are created to worship. And so we are going to talk about when a worshiper cries out. That is the title of the next episode. That will be episode 6. When a worshiper cries out, is going to be good. I feel like all of them are good. I'm not just saying that because it's me, but I feel like God has dropped these episodes on my heart. If you go back to episode 1, you will know how this whole channel came about. And so I am just being obedient and getting them out. And so I thank you all so much for tuning in. Please, please, please subscribe, like, comment, share. And I'll see you guys here next week. Now go identify your Isaac and ask yourself, if God comes for it, are you going to give it up? Again, thank you for joining me for Meek and Humble Hearts, episode 5, titled Give Me Your Isaac. I'll leave you with my disclaimer. Some people have been called to preach. I ain't heard nothing. I'm just a person that's tired of getting it wrong, that's trying to get it right. I absolutely love you guys, and I will see you all in the next one. Mwah.